So what's up guys? Today we will be talking about how to evaluate a company so that you won't just be speculating in the market even as a beginner investor. Our goal today is to answer the question, is this the right company for me? So if you like this video, like and subscribe. So let's start. To begin with, my advice for long-term investors is to have his or her own checklist. This would really guide you, especially when you are just starting out as an investor. I will be showing you a short checklist of mine when I scan for potential companies to invest in. I got this idea from the book of Guy Spear, The Education of a Value Investor. Of course, his checklist is way longer than the one I will be showing you later on. These are just basics for now. So where are you going to get this data that you need? As a starting investor, of course, you want to get this data for free. Now, there are a lot of ways you can get data about companies for free. But today, I'll just show you 3 sources where you can get them. And this is actually my favorite ways to get data. These 3 sources are investing.com, MSN Money, and third is from the company's site itself. Now this is the hardest of all because you have to look for it in the annual report of the company. You can get this from the investor relations site of the company itself. For a new investor, this might be a nosebleed for some. So for this video, we will be focusing more on investing.com and MSN Money. Now why did I choose these sites in the first place? Because in these sites, they show 3 to 4 years worth of data. Now there are sites that gives you 10 years worth of data. This is better. The more data, the better. But these sites usually comes with a price. So as a starter investor, that's really a pain in our wallets. So let's start. I would be setting Globe and PLDT as an example. Now these aren't just random stocks. These two are in the same sector. This is also how I evaluate companies. I not only look at the company I want to invest in, I also look at their competitors in their own sector. Globe and PLDT are competitors. We want to compare their data so we would know which is better in terms of financial and maybe come to a conclusion where we would be putting our money. Now let's begin with our checklist. This list will be discussed one by one as we go on further in this video. Now, I didn't make the list longer, although I tell you there are still a lot of things to consider when evaluating a company. But since we are new investors, this should do for the basics so that we would not be confused too much. This would do for now. First, you go to the website of Investing or MSN. They are the same, but in this video, I'm just going to choose one for my example, and it's investing.com. Type in the ticker symbol of the stock, and first we check the income statement. Now, I know some of you would be thinking right now, wow, that's a lot of numbers. But don't worry, we are not going in detail as of this moment. Remember, we are still new investors. So we would just be looking at the basics first. First of all, click the annual. For this valuation, we always look at the annual data. Now scroll down and look at the net income line. These numbers are in the millions, so every number you get here should be multiplied by 1 million. But you don't have to mind that for now. What you want to see here is the income should be growing year after year. Some of you may be asking, why are we concentrating on net income only? Well, you could look at the gross profit also while you are in here. But I want you to concentrate right now in the net income because some companies have large gross profit but has a negative net income. Now, let's also look at PLDT's income. As we can see, it is also growing year after year. So both companies gets a check in our list. Next, we are going to the balance sheet. Remember, click the annual button again and scroll down to look at the total equity line. What you want to see here is it should be growing year after year. So total equity is assets minus the liabilities of the company. So with a positive equity, you know that the company owns more assets compared to its liabilities. Now we can see Globe's equity is increasing year after year. So let's look at PLDT's equity. It is also growing at a steady pace. So both companies get a check in our list. Next is the cash flow statements. Now scroll down to the free cash flow. If you're lucky enough, the site would have a data showing the free cash flow. But if not, don't panic just yet. It's easy to compute for the free cash flow of the company. You just go up and look at the cash from operating activities and get that number. Go down again and you can see the capital expenditures. So the formula for free cash flow is cash from operating activities minus capital expenditures. Now I know some of you will say that this is such a hassle. Why not just look at the cash from operation? Why do we need free cash flow? What's the use of this? Now free cash flow is important. As the term itself, this is the free cash of the company, or the cash position of that company has now. It's like your extra money after all the expenditures you need to run your business. This is really important. Just like for us individuals, you always have to have cash in hand. You may use this to develop more your business or to pay debt. And this is also needed for our next checklist. So what you want here is that free cash flow to be going up year after year. So that's a check for Globe. Now, let's look at PLDT's free cash flow. So now we can see PLDT's cash flow isn't growing at a steady pace. They even have a negative free cash flow in 2019. This means that their capital expenditures is more than what they get from their main business activities. So this isn't a check for us for PLDT. But let's compute the free cash flow of 2020 since they already have the annual report for that. So cash from operating activities minus capital expenditure we get 6,976. So let's save this for now, for we will be needing it later. Let's go to the next line on our list. Are they handling debt well? We all know debt can kill companies' growth. But what we want is a company that doesn't have excessive debt. How I evaluate this is I go back to the balance sheet again and look for the long-term debt. What I want is if I divide the free cash flow that we got a while ago to this value, I would get a number less than 3. This means that the company can pay their long-term debts in a matter of 3 years and below. So for Globe, it will take 5.32 years if it devoted its full free cash flow on paying its long-term debt. As you can see, this is beyond what we want, which is a max of 3 years. It's close, but still not what we want. So for Globe, this gets an X on our list. Now, we look at PLDT. So if we take their long-term debt and divide by what we computed a while ago, and wow, that's a long time. So this one is an X for PLDT. That means they don't have enough free cash flow at hand to pay their debts in 3 years' time. Well, we can actually see that a while ago, that their free cash flow isn't growing at a steady pace. And they even had a negative free cash flow last 2019. So for both companies, we didn't get what we want, the 3 years minimum time. So let's go on our next checklist, which is the PE ratio. This is by far the most used valuation for companies, and it's really easy, and it is already computed for us. So we just have to look at it here in the general information of the company. So what we want here is a number less than 15. So right now Globe stands at 12.38. This means if you would invest in Globe at its current price right now, you are willing to pay 12.38 pesos to earn 1 peso. Now we check PLDT's PE ratio. So it stands at 11.19. So we are paying 11.19 pesos to earn 1 peso. PLDT is slightly more cheaper in terms of the PE ratio compared to Globe. So for both companies, that's a check in our list. Next up, my favorite. Does the company pay dividends yearly? So we can look this up on Google. You just need to search it there. There are a lot of sites that will show you their dividend history, such as this site, Pesobility. As we can see, Globe pays their dividends regularly with a 5.90% dividend yield for its current price. And if you want to see more of the years of payment, you can go to morningstar.com. So with this, we are sure that they pay their dividends every year. So for PLDT, same process. Search it in Google, look at Pesobility. Right now, they have a yield of 6.14% at its current price. And also go to morningstar.com to check for the other years. They are also giving regular dividends every year. Dividends are really important if you want to increase your passive income. That's why I added this in my checklist when I look at the company. Now for the yield, it is different for us investors. For me, I want companies that give off more than 3% dividends, especially right now that I'm increasing my passive income a year. So it's really different what yield you want to set your standards for in investing in companies. Next on our list is, does the company have a MOAT? Wait, I know what you're thinking. What? What is a MOAT? Well, if you look at the definition of a MOAT, it is that thing that surrounds a castle. Now this terminology came from Warren Buffett himself. A moat's purpose for a castle is for defending itself from attacks. So to put in a company's perspective, this is like the defense of the company, which in turn gives it a competitive advantage to its competitors. So how do you really look for moat? There are a lot of different moats. Brand moat, the company has a financial moat, etc. To give an example, a company that has a strong moat is Coca-Cola. If you hear the name, everyone knows it, right? Without valuing the company or looking at its financial statements, you know there is a moat. Their brand name alone stands out from the rest. It is something that this company has that its competitors won't be able to shake it. Their castle is sturdy because they have a strong moat. So now are you getting what a moat is for a company? So let's apply it to our two stocks, Globe and PLDT. If you ask Filipinos if they know about Globe or PLDT, of course the answer is yes. They had been around for years, and a lot use their services. Almost everyone owns a phone. And what SIM card are they using? Globe or Smart, right? For some who pays you with money, they would ask, "May GCash ka ba?" or "Paymaya," which is also owned by Globe and PLDT. These two giants dominated telecommunication and e-wallets here in our country. So you can actually say they both have a strong moat in them. Now, some companies have multiple moats in them, which gives it a more competitive advantage to other companies. Now, I will be doing a more detail maybe in the future explaining moats. This is for me an important way of assessing if a company will have a potential to grow and last in the years to come. Last on our checklist is a company governed by a good leader. Now, we don't need to be an investigator to do this. We have Google. What we want to see here is their experience, awards, etc. All of us want that the one heading the companies we invest has a lot of experience. So we just search for the leaders of this company. For Globe, let's search it. So for their CEO, it's Ernest L. Koo. By reading this article, we can see that this guy has a lot of experience. Even before Globe, he was a president of another company, and he has countless of awards. So this is a check for us. Now let's look at its other leaders. Chairman of the board is Zobel Ayala. Well, do we need to research this guy? Ayala Corporation, guys. Ayala is known to many of us Filipinos. They have been proven to be great leaders of companies. This guy, speaking of a moat, already has a moat of his own. His name alone is a moat. Now for PLDT. Its CEO is Manuel V. Pangilinan, or as we all know, MVP. He is also the CEO of Metro Pacific Investment Corporation, or MPI, which is also a large company here in the Philippines. And he also manages a lot more business. So Mr. Pangilinan really has a lot of experience. That's also a big check on our list. Now that concludes our checklist. Now it is time to assess the data we have gathered. What I want is it checks almost all the lines on my list. At least 6 out of 8 or better, a perfect score. If some aren't checked, that's when I will do further research about this company, because present financial statements may change in the future if the company is now investing in a much better technology or product, and I would also like to find out why they failed on one of my checklists. A thorough research won't hurt, but for now, as a new investor, this can be a guide for you to start your investing journey. In the future, if you have mastered these basics, you can further investigate in detail the companies. In that way, you are going to a more smarter way of investing rather than just speculating and listening to other people's opinion. So for my portfolio, I chose to invest in Globe for now. I may be adding PLDT in the future, especially right now that their financial statements are recovering, and I really like their dividends. But since Globe has more checks in my list, I'll concentrate on it for now. Anyway, I hope this video helped you guys out. In the future, I will be creating more videos such as this, but an even more detailed one. Again, please, if you liked the video, subscribe and smash the like button.